Hey everybody, it's Uncle Chad. It's late on Sunday and we've had a big day. We did a bunch of pickles and did a bunch of yard work, and I just got back from a ride not that long ago. Corey, you're here too? Yeah, I'm here. Yep. What are we doing here, Corey? We're reading Hachet. Hachet. Yep, that's right. We're on chapter 3 of Hachet.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool book so far. It's kind of a thrill seeker, you know?
Yep, it certainly is. I think we're going to learn a lot about this young man. The plane it's going down now. Is that where we're at chapter 3. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Pretty scary. Didn't you jump out of a plane once, stud?
Well, in Hawaii, I jumped out of a plane. Yeah, went there and a few years ago, and with my best friend Will, our families got together, and he and I jumped out of a plane together. One of those that went down actually not that long ago. There are only like 2 of them, and one of them crashed, and it might have been the plane that we jumped out of. So had a lot that happened in the last few years, and I needed to hit the reset button, and jumping out of a plane was certainly interesting, but it was gorgeous, and I was in tandem, and as soon as the chute pulled, like, I kind of had issues in my groin.
In your groin area, Hachet.
Yep, down in the down low, buddy. It happens.
Yeah, well, did you hear about a little bit of something going on with my kin back in Iowa?
Yeah, I heard there was 120 mile an hour shear winds that hit parts of the state. We had satellite imagery that showed like where it laid corn down in right in the central part of the state, not too far from where I found you at that truck stop in Des Moines.
Yep, just a hop, skip, and a jump away up in Iowa there.
Yep, that's right. So, hey Corey, enough gabbing here. Let's get to Hachet. Can we read chapter 3 of Hachet?
Yeah, go for it, Chad.
All right, here we go. Corey and I are gonna read Hachet, chapter 3. Okay. Going to die, Brian thought. Going to die, going to die, going to die. His whole brain screamed it in the sudden silence. Gonna die. He wiped his mouth with the back of his arm and held his nose down. The plane went into a glide, a very fast glide, that 8 altitude, and suddenly there weren't any lakes. All he'd seen since they started flying over the forest was lakes, and now they were gone. Out in front, far away at the horizon, he could see lots of them glittering blue in the late afternoon sun, but he needed one right in front. He desperately needed a lake right in front of the plane, and all he saw through the windshield were trees, green death trees. If he had to turn, he didn't think he could keep the plane flying. His stomach tightened into a series of rolling knots, and his breath came in short bursts. There, not quite in front, but slightly to the right, he saw a lake, L-shaped with round corners, and the plane was nearly aimed at the long part of the L, coming from the bottom and heading to the top, just a tiny bit to the right. He pushed the right rudder pedal gently, and the nose moved over. But the turn cost him speed, and now the lake was above the nose. He pulled back on the wheel slightly, and the nose came up. This caused the plane to slow dramatically and almost seemed to stop and wallow in the air. The controls became very loose feeling and frightened Brian, making him push the wheel back in. This increased the speed a bit, but filled the windshield once more with nothing but trees and put the lake well above the nose and out of reach. Corey, are you tired of these lights?
Yeah, I'm kind of sick of the red coming and going and getting in my eyes.
I hear that, dude. All right, let's figure it out. Oh, Cora. All right, we're back. Okay, that's better, right? Let's see. Oh, get a little bit so I can read the book a little bit better.
Yeah, you get comfortable.
Okay, I will. Thanks, Cory. I need your permission. From the space of 3 or 4 seconds, things seemed to hang almost to stop. The plane was flying, but so slowly, it would never reach the lake. Brian looked out to the side and saw a small pond. At the edge of the pond, some large animal, he thought a moose, standing out in the water. All so still looking, so stopped the pond and the moose and the trees as he slid over them, now only 300 or 400 feet off the ground, all like a picture. Then everything happened at once. Trees suddenly took on detail, filled his whole field of vision with green, and he knew he would die, but his luck held, and just as he was to hit, he came into an open lane, a channel of fallen trees, a wide place leading to the lake. The plane, committed now to landing, to crashing, fell into the wide place like a stone, and Brian eased back on the wheel and braced himself for the crash. But there was a tiny bit of speed left, and when he pulled on the wheel and the nose came up, he saw in the front of the blue of the lake, and at that instant the plane hit the trees. There was a great wrenching as the wings caught the pines at the side of the clearing and broke back, ripping back just outside the main braces. Dust and dirt blew off the floor into his face so hard that he thought there must have been some kind of explosion. He was momentarily blinded and slammed forward in the seat, smashing his head on the wheel.
Well, that's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah, I hear you, Cory. Then a wild crash, a sound ripping of metal, and the plane rolled to the right and blew through the trees, out of the water and down to slam into the lake, skip once on the water as hard as concrete, water that tore the windshield out and shattered the side windows, water, and drove him back into the seat. Somebody was screaming as the plane drove down into the water. Someone screamed tight animal screams of fear and pain, and he did not know that it was his sound that he roared against the water that took him, and the plane still deeper down in the water. He saw nothing but sensed blue, cold, blue-green, and he raked at the seatbelt catch, tore his nails loose on one hand. He ripped at it until it released, and somehow the water trying to kill him, to end him. Somehow he pulled himself out of the shattered front window and clawed up into the blue, and felt something hold him back, felt his windbreaker tear, and he was free, tearing free, ripping free. But so far to the surface, and his lungs could not do this thing, could not hold, and were through, and he sucked water, took a great pull of water, and would finally take him, and his head broke into the light, and he vomited and swam, pulling without knowing what he was doing. Without knowing anything, pulling until his hands caught at weeds and muck, pulling and screaming until his hands caught at last in grass and brush, and he felt his chest on land, felt his face on the coarse blades of grass, and he stopped. Everything stopped. The color came, and he had never seen before, a color that exploded in his mind with the pain, and he was gone from it all, spiraling out into the world, spiraling out into nothing. Nothing, Cory. You want to smoke my pipe?
Get that thing out of my face.
No, all right, sorry. Jeez. Wow. You're kind of touchy about the pipe, aren't you? Oh, wow.
Oh, Cory. Yeah, you think you're just so funny with that thing. A regular Sherlock Holmes.
Well, it was a pipe I bought in college, and I have it as a prop. Still smells good. Kind of smells. You want to smell it?
No, I don't want to smell it. I need to go to bed.
Well, I need to go to bed too, Cory. All right, everybody. That was chapter 3, and we will start chapter 4 probably tomorrow or maybe the next day. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good night.